Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, we talk about the power of routines to create joy and stability in our life, and 6 areas we can create routines for. Check it out. Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of balance. You can either listen to this as a podcast or watch it as a video. All of that can be found at tomearl.com/routines. As we get started, we want to start with one of our routines here at the celebration, which is to align our energy and our breath with our intention. So what we're going to do, you already guessed it, breathe in through your nose and stretch up. Here we go. And release. Breathe in. And release. What I want you to do is think through your past week. Think about one thing during that week that was a pleasant surprise. One thing that happened that you thought, oh, that's awesome. And it might even be on your Pandora shuffle or on the radio. A song came on that you hadn't heard in a while. You're like, yeah. Or maybe it was somebody that you ran into or somebody you called, or you came across a video on your timeline that you didn't expect and it was pleasant. That's a pleasant surprise. Next, I want you to think of what is one thing from your week that happened that was a coincidence. And maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but now thinking back through it, it was awesome. Maybe you just made a stoplight. I know this week mine was, there's this area that I always travel home that's a series of 3 stoplights, and I just so happened to make it through all 3 of them. And I think of what were all the things that had to happen in my day to align for me to let that happen. Think about it. What was a coincidence? Next, I want you to think of what is one thing you're grateful for about your life. One thing you're grateful for about your life. One thing I'm grateful for is that both Adora and I are really good cooks. And so we get to eat delicious food all the time. Think of one thing you're grateful for. Breathe in through your nose. Here we go. And release. Breathe in one more time. And release. Yes, indeed. I say it every week. It's a routine. What did that take? 2 minutes? And already I feel fantastic. If you did it with me, I bet you feel fantastic. These 2-minute breaks, these 2-minute pauses to reset our energy. Find time throughout your day to do them. What we're going to talk about today is, in this year of balance, how can we use routines to form habits that empower us? Last episode, or 2 episodes ago, the last episode where it's just me and you, I talked about areas of my life where I found balance, and by infusing those balances into my life, my barometer of joy went through the roof. A lot of what allowed me to consistently bring balance to those areas of my life were routines. And so what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to invite you to consider creating a routine in some areas of your life and see what they can do for you. Now, any routine at first is formed by, like we talked about last time, through our attention. What we give our attention becomes the direction of our energy, of our life, of our time. And so often what happens is first we have to start with an intention, and that intention we need to give our attention. And at first, it's something that has to be done through a little bit of discipline. And through the discipline, we start to find the benefits of the routine. And the benefits strengthen the discipline until eventually the routine becomes established, where it becomes, I know I'm going to do this, and it just happens. You might think of if you ever had to change the time of day you wake up. I know in high school, when I was playing hockey, I had to wake up at 4:15 a.m. every single day because we practiced hockey at 5:15 every single morning. And at first it really sucked, but I found routines, made sure I got to bed by 10 p.m. and I got up in a certain way and I did certain things and made it happen. So what we're going to do now is go into some routines. The first one I want to invite you to create a routine for is around sleep. Sleep is one of the most amazing things for you in your life. And in our culture, it is also one of the most neglected things ever. It might start from a young age. You might have had those parents where all week you're not getting enough sleep for school. Finally, you sleep on Saturday and it's about 8:30 and your dad or mom comes in and says, "Get out of bed. Where are you going to sleep the whole day away?" It's like, these are little kids. We're kids forming our mind. And you're telling us sleep is bad. And so that might get ingrained every weekend. You're going to sleep the day away. You're going to sleep the day away. You're lazy. And next thing you know, we're adults. And we say to ourselves, well, I can always get a little less sleep so I can get a little more time spent at work. Or, I want to stay up late doing something fun because work is stressful and I need to release it. And so I'll just neglect my sleep. But I'm telling you, the long-term effects of neglecting our sleep are catastrophic. You should check out the work by Dr. Amen. What he does is he scans brains and sees what happens in I'm not a scientist, but basically he looks at brain scans and sees what is the long-term effects of things like diet, sleep, and etc. He has found that sleep deprivation, depriving ourselves of sleep, is one of the greatest contributors to Alzheimer's. He's found that not getting enough sleep is one of the greatest contributors to reducing your ability to tap into your intelligence. There's so much research out there. What's her name from Huffington Post? Ariana Huffington, her whole latest book is about the importance of sleep. She found herself at the height of the Huffington Post. She found herself awake, face first, in a pool of her own blood on her desk because she kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And what happened is she stood up, passed out, and slammed her face onto her desk, broke her nose, and woke up in a pool of her own blood. And if that isn't a wake-up call, and since then, she's really had this passion for you have to get enough sleep. It's what her new book is all about. Came out last year, maybe a year and a half ago. I have found that in my life, that when I get enough sleep, my intelligence, my creativity, my relationships, everything in my life improves. That sleep is one of the most important things I can give myself. I used to think that my competitive edge was my intelligence, was my leadership, all these things. My competitive edge is sleep. I think if I'm getting more sleep than this other person, I'm going to have the competitive edge because sure, maybe they spent an extra 2 hours awake doing something, but I'm going to have those 2 extra hours restoring my brain, allowing my brain to make synapses and connections and my body to restore itself. So when I come at something, I am fully ready. So that's my, coming to Jesus moment for you. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of the worst things you can do for yourself. So that's me motivating you. Get enough sleep. I have found for me that I need an average of 9 to 10 hours of sleep. If I get anything less than that, every hour less than that, I can feel it. Even 8 hours, which they say we need. 8 hours, I'm still not feeling it. It has to be 9 hours. And you might be saying, I can never do that, Tom. I can never do that. Yes, you can. You can do that, and it is worth it. For me, it took me years of having that intention to make it happen. But really what it became was about prioritizing sleep and creating routines. So I want you to think of what is going to be a routine you have around sleep. So for me, my routine is that I try to go to bed every day at 11 p.m. I used to go to bed every day at 1 or 2. And then I'd get 9 hours of sleep, or 8 to 9. So we're talking I'd wake up at 10 or 11. But I really found that if I go to bed at 11 and I get up at around 8 o'clock or 8:30, so 11 to 8:30 or 11 to 8, I've really found that shifting those 8 hours really helps. That it's not just the amount of sleep I get, but when I get that sleep. And that actually, even though 2 to 11 and 11 to 8 are the same amount of hours, that early sleep is even better. And the thing that's really good about that is I can't always get up at 10 or 11. Sometimes I need to be to work by 9 o'clock in the morning. And so that means that I have to then shift that night from going to bed at 2 or 1, shifting it to 11, which is really hard. If you're used to going to bed at like 1 in the morning, trying to go to bed early is so hard. So I found that if I consistently get to bed at 11 p.m., that even those days where I need to get up really early, like 7 or 6:30, that I'm already used to going to bed early. So that was the first key to my success, is for you, pick a time that you're going to try going to bed at every single night. And I encourage it to be before midnight. Now, you may say that I'm a night person. That's me. I am a night person too. But I'm telling you, it is worth giving a shot. This is coming from somebody who loves staying up until 5 in the morning. I just feel so much better. Next is that once you pick that time that you want to go to sleep, I want you to come up with a 2-hour routine. Now, this might sound crazy, like, what? A 2-hour routine. But this is the thing I want you to think of is 2 hours out. Plan out 2 hours. So for me, if I'm going to go to bed at 11, I have an alarm. That means after 9 p.m., 9:30 at the latest, I am not going to do any other work. Boom, I'm done. And that was really, really hard for me. I was used to getting all my other work done, my family, duties and all those kind of things, cleaning the house done around 9 or 10, because then everybody else goes to bed. And then I would stay up and use those 3 hours of peace and quiet from 10 p.m. until 1 to get my stuff done. So trust me when I say cutting everything else off at 9 or 9:30, to me, that gives me a lot of anxiety even talking about it. But I have found that it's not like those hours disappear. That if you go to bed at 11 or you go to bed at 10, instead of going to bed at 1 or 2, it's not like those hours just disappear. You get them back, but earlier in the day. And even if you're saying, I'm not a morning person, the reason we're not morning persons is because we stay up so late. So hear me out, okay? Whatever time you go to bed, think of 2 hours earlier and stop doing any work. Boom, you cut that off. You stop doing any work. An hour and a half at the most, okay? You stop doing any work and you start going into relaxation mode. Now, maybe that means you watch a TV episode or you do something, but it's not work, okay? So that's what I do. Around an hour and a half to 2 hours out from when I'm going to bed, I stop doing any work. And then brush my teeth, pray. I get everything done that's required for going to bed. So that's me. I brush my teeth. After I'm done brushing my teeth, I wash my face. After I'm done washing my face, I pray. And I try to have all of that stuff done, including packing my lunch for the next day, all that kind of stuff, getting my oatmeal ready. I have all of that done an hour before it's time to go to bed. So if I'm going to bed at 11, I get all of that stuff done I just said by 10. Okay, that last hour, what I do is I read a fictional book. So I read that book for 45 minutes. So from 10 to 10:45, I read a fictional book. Why do I do that? I've experimented with lots of things to do in that 45 minutes. I used to do scrapbook art. I used to draw. I used to write poetry. All different things. Basically, what I'm encouraging you to find a routine on is finding different things that allow you to relax, that allow you to express and to get things out. And so for me, I notice without even trying to that I breathe differently when I read. I get relaxed. It just lets me process. And I read fictional, not non-fictional, because that gets me thinking again. And so then 45 minutes out, after 45 minutes is 15 minutes before I'm supposed to go to bed. And then at that point, I turn off all the lights and I meditate for about 5 to 10 minutes, go to the bathroom, boom, and I lay down. Now, I forgot to mention that at an hour before bed, phone goes on airplane mode. phone goes on airplane mode. If you say, well, I have an emergency calls that people have to call me, download one of those apps where the person has to call twice, or there's certain numbers you can hook up if you have numbers where you're the go-to person, where if the person calls, it lets it through, or if they call twice, it lets it through. But what you need to stop doing is an hour before bed, no more looking at social media no matter what. I know so many people, what we do is instead we look at our phones and right before we go to bed, we're scrolling through. None of that, no more. So that's my routine. 2 hours before, I stop doing anything to do with work. Then I start getting ready for bed, pack my lunch, all these kind of things. An hour before bed, I'm reading something fictional, something fantasy, something fun. 15 minutes before bed, I'm meditating, and I'm in bed by 11. And I found that routine around going to bed allows me to get deep in uninterrupted sleep. Okay, so that's it for me. I know I spent a lot of time on that one, but sleep is so important for you. What is going to be your routine around going to bed? And it might be, don't discount anything. Maybe you take a shower. Maybe you brush your teeth. But what is it going to be? And in a specific order, so that your mind starts to notice, oh, okay, these actions I'm doing mean I should start winding down. And it helps. I'm telling you, that whole book that Arianna Huffington has on sleep, she talks about a lot of different people's routines. Start to think of one for yourself. The next one, who would have thought? Morning. Morning routines. If you listen to different podcasts or you read different books on leadership, this is one thing people are really fascinated on. What are famous people or what are really successful people's morning routine? You rarely find someone who's massively successful who doesn't have a morning routine. And I want to invite you to consider for yourself, what is your morning routine? I want to invite you, if right now you're doing, I just jump out of bed, I get ready, and I zoom out the door. I want you to think of what is a morning routine that you have. And what you can do is set up a routine that is your ideal. In an ideal world, this would be my routine. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then create condensed versions. If I have an hour, if I have a half hour, if I have 15 minutes, that's what I have. If I have an hour, I do certain things. If I have a half hour, I do certain things. If I have 15 minutes, I do certain things. Every morning when I wake up, I do some form of exercise. And usually what I like to do is I wake up and I go for about a 15 to 20 minute walk. During that walk, I'm thinking about things I'm grateful for. This is exactly what I do. I think of 3 things I'm grateful for. Think of 3 things I love about myself. Think of 3 big picture goals I have for my life. And think of 3 things I'm going to do that day to accomplish those. Okay? So that's what I do. 3 things I'm grateful for. Yours doesn't have to be what I just said. Yours can be you go for a walk and you think of 3 things you're grateful for during that walk. Then come inside after that 15-minute walk. And I do the T25, the Shaun T, Beachbody T25 workout. Because I say, I can commit 25 minutes to working out this morning. So I wake up, go for about a 15-minute walk, come inside, and I do a 25-minute workout. So now we're at about 45 minutes in my day. So then what I do is I make a smoothie. Make that smoothie, drink that smoothie. Usually it's bananas, some sort of frozen fruit, and ginger. Boom, make the smoothie. Once the smoothie's made, I hop in the shower, and I have a routine I do in the shower. I have an affirmation that I say to myself to uplift myself. And then when I get out of the shower, grab the smoothie, and the first thing I do is I put on some sort of content on my phone that's uplifting, that massages the mind. So it could be a podcast. One of my favorite podcasts of all time is The Celebration by Tom Earl, which is what you're listening to. Honestly, usually what I'm doing is every podcast I make, I record it and then I listen to it and create notes on it and listen to any parts that I want to highlight. So I do listen to my own podcast. But other podcasts I like are The Philosopher's Note, or I like Janet Mock's podcast, or something like that. I'm listening to a podcast, or I take a lot of online courses. Brene Brown's online course, Iyanla Van Zant's online course, one of Tony Robbins' audio tapes. So after I get out of the shower, I listen to something uplifting like that. And I have a routine for how I moisturize my body And as I'm listening, I'm moisturizing my body, and when I'm touching my body, I think of positive things. I'm drinking my smoothie. All of that, this whole thing takes about a half hour. For me to go from in the shower to out the door takes a half hour. So then I do all that, and next thing I do is I make the bed. Okay, you might have seen that graduation speech that famous general gave, where he talked about if you start the day by making the bed. If you get into that routine, it's one small accomplishment that you've done. At least today, you've made the bed. I've heard people here in LA say, I walk the Culver City steps every morning, which if you're not from LA, it's these huge steps that are really hard to walk, because people say, as long as I've done that, I know that I've done something today. So for a lot of us, that can be making the bed. Okay, after I make the bed, I get dressed, and I have my shoes by the fridge so I don't forget my lunch. I go grab my lunch, put on my shoes, boom, I'm out the door. My long version is, if you time that all up, an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half to get out the door. I can condense that. Sometimes I skip the walk and I just do the workout and everything else. But my shortened version, the shortest version, is the half-hour version, where I get into the shower, and when I say my self-love affirmation in the shower, when I get out, I'm listening to something uplifting, and when I'm moisturizing and I'm touching my body, I'm thinking of things I love about myself, and I make the bed, and I get dressed. That's the smallest I condense it. And that routine allows me to start the morning with stability, with growth, and before I even walk out the door, I feel proud, I feel accomplished, especially when I get a chance to sweat. I feel great, and it really helps propel me throughout the day. So I want you to think of, what is going to be your routine for the morning? Every morning you get up, are you going to journal? I used to do that. I used to wake up every morning and journal, or I used to wake up every day and write a poem. I've experimented with lots of different routines. So start off. Go for different things, try different things. There's so many suggestions for a routine to have in the morning. What you're going to find is some things stick and some things just don't stick. And you'll eventually find a routine that you like, that gives you joy. And go for it. Every day do it, and don't neglect it. And you will find that it rapidly builds success in your life. Here's another one. Create routines around movement. Our sedentary lifestyle is no good for us. It's creating long-term health consequences in our life. So what I want you to do is think of, what are some routines you want to create around movement? So my friends who have chronic pain, or my friends who are differently abled, please hold me accountable if in this explanation I'm saying anything that sounds ableist or is not taking into consideration what you go through in life. Please, if I'm saying anything that's not inclusive, invite me to look at it a different way. But basically what I'm saying around finding routines around movement, is what are ways during the day that in whatever way your body is able to, you can find ways to move. Because a lot of what happens is we sit throughout the entire day, except for maybe when we walk to our car and when we walk home, or when we're standing to heat something up, and then when we eat it. And just working out once throughout the day isn't enough movement. We need to spread that movement throughout the day consistently in order to give ourselves the most circulation, blood flow, and in general, access to energy. And so some routines I have around movement are every hour, when the time hits 50 minutes, or if I sit down, I just time it out. Every hour, I stand up and I move my legs. I do some punches. I stretch. I breathe. I do that for about 2 minutes, and then I sit back down. That's one routine I have. No matter what, I stand up and do that. Another routine I have is anytime I get a phone call, I'm standing, I'm walking, I'm using that as an opportunity to stand up and to move around. Another movement routine I have is that at night when I come home, I try to go for a walk at night every single day. Because that means that I started my day with a walk, and then at night I go for a walk. So I've at least twice a day for about 15 minutes to a half hour, moved my body. And this is in addition to working out. So for you, what is a routine you want to create around movement and moving your body? The next one, I believe we're on 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one is some routines around expression. If all we do is ingestion, if all we do is take things in through our ears and never release that, if we never express ourselves, that's when we start to bottle things up. And we know the health consequences, spiritually, physically, and morally, of bottling things up. And expressing ourselves isn't just creativity. Expressing ourselves in our relationships, expressing our needs, expressing our ideas, expressing our beliefs, our hopes, our dreams, our visions, all of these different things. I want you to come up with some routines that are around expressing yourselves. My routine around expressing myself is every Friday I do something creative, whether it's write a song, write a poem, draw something. Now you might be saying, I'm not a creative person. Then journal. Set one day of the week where every Friday you journal out your ideas. You need zero creativity to journal out your ideas. Or bullet point. Write down a bullet point of a bunch of different things that you want to express. Or once a week, say something. Just talk. Talk out loud in your car. Express yourself somehow. That's what my first routine is. Every Friday, I express myself by writing a poem or working on a song. And then every Sunday, I express my dreams by creating some visions and goals I have for the week. So every Friday, I create that way. Every Sunday, I express by creating my vision for the week. And then every single day, I express by saying, what am I grateful for? And I write in a journal 3 things I'm grateful for every day. And those are some routines I have around expressing myself. Now, if you're the leader of a team, as a team, we have some routines. Every single Tuesday, we as a team meet where everybody gets to express what is something that you're proud of that you accomplished and what is something you're excited about this upcoming week. We get to express what's going on in the team. So for your team, too, you can create systemically where it's built into the day, where it's built into the week and the month and the year, that our team always expresses ourselves weekly, monthly, and yearly through this. The next one is, who would have thought? I want you to create some routines around gratitude. I already mentioned this, that one of my routines around gratitude is every day I say out loud one thing I'm grateful for. And I write down in a journal 3 things I'm grateful for as well. When you build this into your schedule, a routine for gratitude, you're going to find that your perspective becomes expanded. That no matter what happened in your day, if you have this routine built in, it'll give you perspective on life. And that perspective will empower you. If you're interested, I do have a Facebook group. It's called the Gratitude Challenge. The link is in the show notes where you can join us. And every day I share what I'm grateful for. And then other folks share videos, posts, comments, pictures, things that they're grateful for as well. And for some people, that's their routine, is once a day. They make sure they log onto that group and share something they're grateful for. Last routine I want you to develop is a routine around joy. We sometimes get so focused on accomplishing things that we neglect spending time and giving our attention to that which brings us joy. And like all of these things, the way to create a routine out of something is to consistently schedule it in. The friends that I have grown with over the years are the friends that after we hang out, we say, when are we hanging out next? Let's put it on the calendar now. Because otherwise, it's just a wish. And that wish goes from just being a wish to actually being something when we schedule it into our calendars. So for you right now, I want you to think of once a day, once a week, once a month. What are something you're going to do to infuse each of those examples with joy? Your once a day could be the same as your gratitude. I'm going to infuse my day with a gratitude and a joy routine by saying something I'm grateful for that brings me joy. Or other things you can think of is, for instance, for me, I make sure that once a week I spend time on something small that can bring me joy. Maybe going for a walk, reading my book, just laying down and reading. Spending time where I say, you know what, I'm going to go on Tumblr and just look at blogs that are really fun or cat videos. And then I also say once a month, there's going to be one day of the month where I do a whole day that just brings me joy. Remember I explained how every weekend I have, or not every weekend, one weekend of the month, I spend a day, it's usually a Saturday, where I do art or I spend time with friends, I cook good food. And so as you can see, a lot of these things overlap. They don't have to be separate things. The gratitude routine can overlap with your joy routine, as mine often do. But think of what routine are you going to create around joy? So you're spending time on things that bring you joy. My friends, this has been a great time spent with you here today. I know for me, I wouldn't be able to get a podcast out to you once a week unless I had a routine around that. And so routines can really be empowering for us. And start with these 6 areas of your life. Create routines around those, and you will find that they carry over into every aspect of your life in a powerful way. Please let me know if you have any questions. And if you have a moment, please head over to iTunes and just leave a little review about what you think of this show, or share this with a friend so we can spread this awesome celebration with them as well. As always, my friends, I'm wishing you peace and blessings.